To the Lindenwood Sports Network, this is Lion Pride Sports. I'm Andrew Rogers.
And I'm Matt Sabanas. Thank you for joining us. Let's go ahead and take a look at Lindenwood football. Week 3 of the 2016 season. They went on down to Topeka, Kansas to take on the Washburn Ichabods. First drive, Mason Bendigo on the 10. Finds Kendall Sparks on the post. Touchdown LU, 7-0. After the first kickoff, the first play for Washburn, Derek McGinnis, the D1 transfer, across the way to Jake Horner. Got it at the 35, cuts up field, and quickly, it's a tie ball game. Both sides come up empty for the rest of the quarter, but the Ichabods knocking at the door at the start of the second. Here's McGinnis again. The give to Chris McGee Jr. pounds one in for Washburn, gives them the 14-7 lead. First play for Lindenwood after the score. Bendigo tries to go flat with it, but it's out of the hands. He tries to go into recovery mode, but the Ichabods just swarm him and take possession at the 18. Very next play, McGinnis in the gun. Excellent pass protection as he lofts it up to Jace Williams in the corner, who just holds on. Washburn to 2-score lead. Later in the quarter, after Lindenwood goes 3 and out, McGinnis does it again, fakes the handoff and lasers it to Bryce Chavis at the 20 and into the end zone. A 51-yard touchdown pass makes it 28-7 Washburn. Ichabods weren't done there though. 6 minutes left in the half, and it's a reverse. Chavis again just gets the blocking and fights in for the score. Washburn with a 27-point lead. Mason Bendigo lifted for Alan Thickman, who had a heck of a day on the ground. Here he is charging for a first down on a crucial 3rd and 9 situation late in the half. After a scoreless third quarter, he did it again. Here in the fourth, watch this. 3rd and 8 from the 20. Thigpen bouncing around defenders left and right, finding his way into the end zone. Allen had 94 yards on the ground on the night, most on the team. Let's watch this one again, because just count how many times he breaks through some of these defenders. There's 1, already 2, now on to 3, 4, 5. He's still moving. He's only at the 10, 6, 7 there, and finally the 8th and final tackle pulls him into the end zone. What a night for him. Add the 2 passing touchdowns, and he proved himself in Topeka. Gave Lindenwood one final chance late in the game. Bendigo back in, rolling to his left side, looking for the end zone from midfield, but he just shortchanges it. Picked off by Washburn, and the comeback falls short. LU drops to 1-2 on the season, and they'll be back home on Saturday to take on the Pittsburgh State Gorillas.
The Lindenwood men's rugby team took a hop across the pond to compete in the Red Bull Uni-7s World event. The Lions qualified for the competition after winning the regional tournament on August 25th in Glendale, Colorado. The World's event took place in Bath, England on September 17th. Participants included Lindenwood, who represented the USA, and teams from Brazil, England, Wales, Russia, and Italy. In Game 1, Lindenwood defeated UPPA in France 26-14. Game 2 had a different turnout as the Lions fell 27-19 to Bath University in England. In Game 3, the Lions took on University of Exeter in England and defeated them 21-5. Next, Lindenwood took on CUS Milano in Italy and won 19-14. The Lions competed against another UK team in Game 4 when they lost to Cardiff Metropolitan University in Wales 43-14. Finally, in Game 6, the Lions had a comeback from their bitter defeat against Wales as they demolished University Paulista from Brazil 40-7. Lindenwood placed in 3rd out of 6 teams. Bath University in the UK took first place for a 3rd consecutive year. The team will be playing in the U.S. again in October as they head to the U.S. Touch National Championships in Orlando, Florida.
Lindenwood women's rugby is doing just as well for themselves only 2 games into the season. Hosting the Little Rock Stormers on Saturday at Hunter Stadium, the Lady Lions trailed early 7-5, but locked down on defense from that point on. Imogen Davis and Avery McGillivray adding tries in the second half. The Lady Lions got a 27-7 victory over the Stormers. The team is now 2-0 on the young season so far and look to keep their momentum into the start of the conference season, which opens on Friday.
The Lindenwood men's soccer team defeated Ouachita Baptist Tigers 2-1 in double overtime from Hunter Stadium last Saturday afternoon. Giovanni Doca scored the first goal of the game in the 2nd minute, capitalizing on a rebound opportunity which came off of a Gabriel James shot. For Doca, the goal was his team-leading 7th of the season and his 5th in the last 2 contests. The Lions limited the Tigers to just 3 shots on goal during the opening half, going into halftime with a 1-goal lead. Ouachita Baptist evened the score in the 61st minute, and this would be the lone score of the period, with the game now heading to overtime. After a scoreless first overtime, the two teams remained even into the final minute of play in the second overtime. Jose Sanchez in the 109th minute took a feed from Nijaz Muricevic and headed it into the vacant goal. Following the victory, the Lions improved their season record to 3-2-2. Lindenwood will host the Northeastern State Riverhawks at Hunter Stadium on Thursday at 7 p.m.
Lady Lions soccer suffered its second home loss in a row over the weekend, both to conference opponents. After a close loss to the UCM Jennies, the girls tried to bounce back against the Missouri Western Griffins, but neither team was able to get any offense throughout. Even though the Lady Lions put on 8 shots in the first half, none would get by. The game ended going into OT, where Bailey Devon hit one into the upper right corner in the 98th minute for the OT win for the Missouri Western Griffins. The Lady Lions fall to 3-2 on the season, and they'll head to Maryville, Missouri to take on the Northwest Missouri Bearcats on Saturday. Up next on LPS, Blues broadcaster John Kelly joins us in studio. He'll talk the upcoming season and what to look forward to. That and more next on Lindenwood Sports Network.
Fancy pants peanut butter? A big screen television? You haven't even bought a sofa yet. A motorcycle? When your father finds out, he's gonna flip his shoes with 2 buckles? What do you even need 2 buckles for? Mr. Big Shot, buying whiskey shots for everybody in the bar. From the looks of it, I'd say nobody even remembers. Feed the pig.
Thank you. You got a king?
Go fish! In your face, in your face.
It only takes a moment to make a moment. Take time to be a dad today.
Welcome back into Lion Pride Sports. I'm Matt Sabatis, Andrew Rogers, and we're joined here in the second segment of the show by Blues broadcaster on Fox Sports Midwest, John Kelly. John, first off, thank you so much for taking the time to join us. We really appreciate it.
My pleasure. Thank you for having me.
So, a big-time postseason run for the Blues last year. They got so close making it to the conference finals. You could tell just how long it had been with how many times they'd taken first-round exits. What do you think the main difference was in this Blues team that was able to make it to the conference finals after so many first-round exits? Was it player chemistry? Do you think it was the goaltending? Because Elliott and Allen, they were such a great 1-2 punch in the net. What do you think it was?
You know, it's a hard question to answer just, in 10 or 15 seconds, but the biggest thing to me, and they had great goaltending from Brian Elliott. Jake Allen played a few games, was real good. They got timely goals. I mean, Backus had a couple of overtime goals. But to me, the biggest thing compared to prior years when they lost in the first round is they won the big game. The Blues, prior to last year, they had played a Game 5 at home 3 straight years in a 2-2 series and lost all 3 of those Game 5s to go down 3-2. So, in every playoff series, there's a pivotal moment. And the Blues, they almost let the lead slip away. Of course, they were up 3-1 in the series. But then in the pivotal Game 7, they got the big goal from Brouwer in the third period and held on to win that game.
They also had the help of both posts.
The double post from Seabrook, exactly.
That was probably one of the scariest moments of the whole postseason.
When that happened, when those posts were hit, my son was next to me in the booth, and I said, they're going to win. It was divine intervention, I believe, that they were going to win after that.
That's all you need.
Yep. Well, sometimes you need luck.
Yeah.
So.
And you already mentioned Brian Elliott and Troy Brouwer now. Now they both exit to the same team. They both go to the Calgary Flames. And then we also saw Backus leave our team. We kind of saw that one coming. Now with the captain ratio too, who do you think Pietrangelo can step up as that captain that Backus was? And how do you feel about the Brian Elliott and Troy Brouwer leaving to Calgary?
Well, as far as Pietrangelo, there's no question he's the guy that I thought they would anoint the captain, and he got to see. He's a fantastic player. He's playing really well for Canada right now in the World Cup. He's one of the elite defensemen in the league, very well spoken, a leader in the locker room. So to me, he's the natural guy to take the C from from David Backus. As far as Brian Elliott and Troy Brouwer going to Calgary, those are big losses. I mean, Brouwer had the great playoff for the Blues. Brian was superb. But, in fairness to Brian, he wanted to be a number one goaltender. Jake Allen wanted to be a number one. There's only one net. So I think that's the best case scenario for both goaltenders is Brian goes to a Calgary club that might have had the worst goaltending in the NHL last year. So he'll be the clear-cut number one, and Jake gets the job now. And I think both goaltenders will be happier, and I think both will do very well this year.
And talking about exits following last season, the exit that everyone is going to be looking forward to after this season, Ken Hitchcock. How do you think that's going to really affect his coaching style in what he's already announced to be his final season?
Yeah, I don't think it'll affect his coaching style because he'll coach the same way. He's a smart guy, and obviously he wants to win every game. He wants the Blues to go deep and win a Stanley Cup. But I will admit it's a unique situation where the coach has said before the season begins that this is my last year, and oh, by the way, here's the coach in waiting as your assistant. Again, it's a unique situation from a coaching perspective, although if you go back a few years, the Blues general manager, Doug Armstrong, was in the same kind of situation where he was hired to be the next general manager while Larry Plow finished out his term. So it's different positions, but sort of the same set of circumstances.
Following the same track.
Exactly.
From seasons past, that's understandable. So do you think that Hitchcock will be able to provide a good mentorship and pass the torch in a proper way?
No question. Mike Yeo has been a very successful coach. As a matter of fact, he beat Hitch in the first round a couple of years ago in a 6-game series. Prior to that, he upset the Colorado Avalanche in a first-round series when the Avalanche finished first and they won Game 7 right in Denver in overtime. So Mike Yeo has had a lot of experience. He was an assistant coach on the Penguins' 09 Stanley Cup team. So I think he's a good young coach, but at the same time, he has some experience as an assistant in the NHL, as a head coach in the NHL, and also as a head coach in the American Hockey League. So he's almost done it all as a coach right now.
And that's so crazy that we keep talking about players leaving, and we haven't really talked about people coming back. And now we see that Vladimir Sobotka is interested in coming back to the NHL because he does. We have him for 2 more years, or either 1 or 2 more years. What's his status? Is he going to come back to us?
That right now is the million-dollar question. He's playing in the World Cup for the Czechs, and he wants to come back, but the hang-up is that he has a contract obligation in the KHL. So basically it's going to come down to him either buying his way out of that contract or he'll have to stay in the KHL until that deal expires. But he's told his agent, the agent has told Doug Armstrong that he wants to play for the Blues this year. So now it's a matter of negotiating his way out of the deal. Hopefully he will. We'll probably know in a matter of 4 or 5 days.
So you're thinking it's within the week?
I think so. I think once the tournament is over, then he either will come to Blues training camp, which opens in 2 days, or he'll head back to the KHL. So I think we'll know at the very latest in a week.
All right, then. So that's definitely something
That's
to look
exciting
forward
news.
to.
Yeah, that's really exciting.
Talking about exciting news and something to look forward to, the recent announcement just this past summer of the Winter Classic, going to be at Busch Stadium. Obviously, it'll be nationally televised, so you might not be able to get the call on that one, but you'll most likely be attending, won't you?
We will be there, yeah.
Yeah.
Hopefully we can actually, there's an alumni game on New Year's Eve, so we're hoping that we get a chance to broadcast that. But to get the Winter Classic in St. Louis is a real coup for Tom Stillman and the Blues and Blues fans. I mean, we've never had an outdoor game, let alone the Winter Classic. It's going to be fantastic. I personally have never been to one. I've watched them on television, but it's going to be a great experience. Regardless of where you are sitting in Busch Stadium, if you're lucky enough to get a ticket, it's going to be just a great environment and just a wonderful event just to partake in.
Well, John, we look forward to that and the entire season to come, and we look forward to hearing you every step of the way. John Kelly, ladies and gentlemen, we thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks for having me. I appreciate it very much.
We'll be right back in just a few seconds. We'll talk Cardinals with Scott Manziero when we return here on the Lindenwood Sports Network.
It's a short ride from your neighborhood to your naturehood. To find a neighborhood park or green space near you, visit discovertheforest.org.
Everybody has a dream. Mine was to see the ocean. And with a little help, I made it.
Welcome back. Let's take it over to Denver, where the Cards and the Rockies faced off in a big Game 2 of a 3-game series. Matt Adams up to bat, a 1-0 deficit, golfs it into deep right field. The solo blast ties the game at 1. 15th home run on the year for Big City. But that's not all for the Cardinals in the second inning. Later, 2 on with 1 out. Adam Wainwright himself at the plate had a great night on the mound, too. Lifts one into left center, driving in both of the runners. Another extra base hit from Waino makes it 3-1. We go to the 4th. Jed Jerko at the plate takes a fastball dead center and drills it to dead center. 452 feet on that one. Jerko now leads the team in home runs this year with 27. Later in the 5th inning, Adam Wainwright again, this time a bloop single and another pair of RBIs for the right-hander. Wainwright helping his own cause as the Cardinals down the Rockies and take Game 2 10-5. They're now tied with the Giants and the Mets for the 2 wild card spots in the postseason. Speaking of that heated wild card race, we got a few extra people here in the studio with us to talk that wild card race. Scott Manziera, Andrew Rogers. The Giants and the Mets tied with the Cardinals 80 and 71 each. It's really who's going to get there first. The Giants had the best record coming out of the first half. They've since pretty much fallen off a cliff, but they're still holding on to it, and they've had some decent success against the Cardinals before. They split that last series over in San Francisco. When you look at the way that this could play out, there's a handful of different scenarios. All 3 tie for the 2 spots. The top 2 spots are tied. The bottom 2 spots are tied, or just one team falls off completely. Which one do you guys think is going to be the most likely?
Well, right now, I mean, it's so hard to say. The Giants, as you said, are in a huge slump. They're in a big slump. They just keep falling down. They lost Johnny Cueto the other day. But then you also deal with the Mets pitching. And, I mean, they lost already Jacob deGrom this season so far. And then you move on to the Cardinals pitching. And they really haven't been in track. So it really comes down to who's going to have the best pitching.
Well, and I think that's exactly right. But more importantly, who's going to have the best pitching at the right time? Because, you know, these starters are all in their own 5-day streak, and there's 10 games left, 11 games left now.
But you can always call someone up and just skip a spot in the rotation to give them an opportunity. We've seen Mike Matheny do that with Adam Wainwright before.
I know, but that throws off pitchers' mindset. These pitchers, starting pitchers, are so different than anything else in sports. They have that everyday routine. I mean, you heard Adam Wainwright. He was in a slump. He changed the peanut butter in his pregame peanut butter and jelly sandwich. These starting pitchers are weirdos, guys. They have to have everything exactly what they want and perfect when ready to go to have their best performance.
Saying he went from Jif to Peter Pan?
I'm not sure
you
exactly.
You don't go to Peter Pan, you go to Jif. Now, looking at the probable pitching matchups, you have to assume with his recent success, it's going to be the Cardinals throwing Adam Wainwright. If you're the Giants, with Cueto potentially still injured going into the postseason, we don't know the severity of the injury as of yet, but with Cueto potentially going into the postseason injured, you still have Madison Bumgarner, you still have Jeff Samardzija. And when you look at the Mets, you still have Noah Syndergaard, you still have Matt Harvey to a degree. Bartolo Colon didn't even make the postseason roster last year, though. So it's kind of a question on who you're going to throw in a pivotal game. And if you look at a 3-way tie scenario, it could come down to either the Mets or the Cardinals having to play 2 games just for the opportunity to get that wild card spot. So you never know who you're going to have to throw, and you don't know if you're even going to have to throw 2 separate people. So if you're the Cardinals, we'll start with them because we've seen the 2 kinds of guys that the Giants and the Mets can throw out. Who do you throw out number 2? Do you throw out Carlos Martinez?
Absolutely.
Well, you could throw out a Luke Weaver because he's been pretty good coming out of Memphis.
Well, I got to go with Scott here. Carlos Martinez. He had the hottest start to the season, and even though Adam Wainwright is obviously our ace, he's going to be our number 1 guy. You got to go to him first. Carlos Martinez has to be the close second. Michael Wacha was not the man that he was supposed to be this season, and Martinez really stepped up in his role. He's got to be the number 2 guy if we go to a second wild card game.
I think that it's even more important that I think potentially if it becomes a three-way tie, which honestly I believe in my heart that it's not going to be a three-game tie. There's too much time left. But, ideally, if it's 3-1, it'll be the Mets at the Cardinals, hopefully, because the Cardinals own the record over the Giants 4-3 in the season series after those huge back-to-back game wins in that last series. And then they tie 3-3 with the Mets so far. So the Cardinals and Mets play game 1. You obviously go Waino. And then game 2, the Cardinals won't even have to face Bumgarner because the Mets and the Giants are going to play the Cardinals. So I think that's the best case scenario. Then you throw Martinez in that big game too. Looking at
Potential playoff rosters, do you think Michael Wacha might take a similar role as to what Adam Wainwright had last year, coming out of the bullpen in crucial situations?
I think so. I think that's what Matheny really wants because, obviously Wacha got in the game a few nights ago, 7 through a scoreless. They put him in the bullpen for a reason.
And you got to start somewhere. You can't just go into injury or from the slump that he was in and then just put him right back on the mound. Right. It's really hard for a pitcher, unlike the ace for a team, to be able to do that. Michael Wacha can be that guy. He's shown the potential. Last year, he went 17-7 in his record. He has the potential to be one of the best starters for this team. He just has to find his rhythm. Once he finds that, I see the Cardinals pitching boost, especially with him in our lineup.
Now, offensively for the two sides, it's still somewhat of a toss-up because while the Giants don't have as much power as the Cardinals and the Mets, they can really get on base and just get some good hits with runners in scoring positions. You got guys like Buster Posey and Hunter Pence. They are exceptionally good at that. But then you look at the Mets and you look at the Cardinals, and they have some serious power hitters. While the Giants do have a guy like Denard Span, who's really picked up his game the last few months. You look at Yoenis Cespedes. You look at a couple of the other guys on the Mets roster, picking up Jay Bruce from the Reds at the trade deadline. But then you look at the Cardinals, Jed Jerko, Brandon Moss, each with 27 home runs this year. Who expected that? Who expected that?
I didn't expect Jed Jerko to be the guy that he is.
Half the fan base didn't even expect Brandon Moss to do that well. You got to say that the Cardinals made off like bandits in that trade with the Twins. Frank Kaminsky has not done well in his time in Double-A since the Brandon Moss trade. And Brandon Moss leads the Cardinals in home runs.
Right.
That was the best possible move for the Cardinals at the trade deadline last year. And it could very well pay its dividends the postseason a year later.
Well, and back to Jed Jerko, when he started the season, he was kind of that utility player. He's getting $6 million a year, which I thought was absolutely insane. And thinking Colton Wong's going to be the everyday starter after getting that big contract extension. But now that Jerko and Moss are both in the headlights, that's unbelievable.
Jerko was on the Padres. Okay, great. He was on a team that hardly can have an even record.
27 home runs.
Hardly can have an even record. And then he comes to the Cardinals. We're thinking, are you kidding me? We added this guy to our roster, and we don't even know who this guy even is. And then he turns out to be a 27 home run machine? Huge to take the place of Colton Wong, as you already said. Huge to put him in with Aledmys Diaz going out for injury.
We'll have to see how things go for the Cardinals when it comes that time for the postseason. Hopefully they do make it in. But for the time being, we're going to have to go over and get it to our high school sports reporter, Patrick Kelly. Pat, what do you have for us?
Let's take a look into the local area scores from last week. Zumwalt East defeated South in a double overtime thriller, 27-26 on Friday night. Francis Howell obliterated Howell North 38-0. Warrenton and St. Charles West struggled to put points on the board in their game, but West came out victorious 12-8. Troy Buchanan and Howell Central played some high-scoring football, but Central had a tough time stopping the strong running game in the first quarter. Troy Buchanan takes this game 45-30. And finally, North County outscored St. Charles on Friday 47-0 in the first, second, and fourth quarter of this game, allowing them to have this blowout of 60-21. Stay tuned in next Friday to 89-1 The Wood for the high school football game of the week on the Lindenwood Sports Network. For Lion Pride Sports, I'm Patrick Kelly.
That's it for this week's Lion Pride Sports. I'm Matt Sabatas.
And I'm Andrew Rogers. Thanks for joining us on the Lindenwood Sports Network.